How do you know when you're emotionally safe to talk about something? Some people test the waters. Sometimes you just need to stop trying. I call it the toilet paper conversation. The conversation starts with a safe topic. The conversation quickly moves to something safer or deeper once the toilet paper conversation is done. Hey honey, I'm kind of upset. You put the toilet paper this way and you know I like it that way. Oh, so what you're saying is that you prefer that when I do it this way and you're kind of upset with me. Well, yeah, it's like we've been together for how long and you don't even know what my preferences are. Got it. So it's not just the up or down of the toilet paper. It's that you feel like I'm not paying attention or you're not on my radar. Yeah, it's like, do you even know who I am? The person is determining if the listener is able and willing to listen before going deeper. It's not really about the toilet paper. It never is. If they don't get the sense that the person is listening, what's the point of going deeper? I had someone talk about sexual abuse. Their partner wasn't listening. Imagine talking about such an intimate topic, feeling that vulnerable, and not feeling like your partner was listening. Can you imagine that? She just couldn't listen to him at that point, couldn't do it. She felt the pain of the partner, and something closed down in her capacity to listen. At that point, they could force it or move laterally or have some quiet time. Hey, let's talk about... No? Oh, okay, how about... Well, imagine 10 more attempts and still no connection. Yep, that means keep it safe and shallow or go deep. Sink, drown, your choice. Imagine saying something to her, only to be met with defensive words or an attack, and then told that they have to walk on eggshells, rather than them taking responsibility for difficulty in listening. Defending oneself instead of taking responsibility is rarely a successful strategy. Often used, rarely successful. We all make those kind of mistakes. Then we try to repair the relationship. So yes, focus on what you can do differently instead of changing the other person. That's true. That's what we want to do. What could I do differently in that situation to make it go better? That should be something regular, something that's going in your head on a regular basis rather than blaming the other person and trying to get them to change. So let's start with the basics. Is it okay to tell someone that something they're doing bothers you? Well, yes, of course. It doesn't feel good when someone tells me that I did something that hurt them or that it landed poorly. When I know I did damage with my words, I feel guilty. That guilt will likely mean that I have incentive to not do it again, but I don't like feeling guilty. Demanding that the person change is generally not helpful. So whether or not they change, can you live with it? You have to decide whether or not you can live with it if they don't change. You have to decide how to negotiate for what you want and create a win-win. Hey, it seems we both want different things. How can I ask for this to change and you also get what you need? If they can't or won't change after sufficient time and repetition, then you have to make other decisions. If there's not a win-win, you have to consider whether that means that you stay or you leave the relationship. Is the trade-off worth it? It's unlikely that they're going to change something that's been a lifelong habit. It might be worth a try, just know that it's unlikely that it's going to change. Can you say to yourself, it's not my job to change people. It's my job to take them where they're at. I can request a change. I can tell them that the impact isn't really good, but I don't have the right to change people. At the end of the day, whether they change or not, I have some decisions to make. So I have a problem with our communication. That seems like a fairly innocuous conversation to start. If the person hearing that starts making it all about themselves, well, that's not a good approach. Never. Nope, not a good approach. You might have feelings about them saying that I have a problem with our communication, right? All right, so if you're the person hearing that, hold on to those feelings until it's your turn. Right now, It's about the person who's already holding the floor. It remains their floor unless something egregious is said or done. That would trump their turn. Otherwise, by making it about you, you're making it about you. It's straightforward, and it's a very common issue in my office. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, just means that it's really common. It doesn't feel good to be at the point where you want to end a relationship. Imagine liking a relationship, much about it, and realizing that it just won't work out. You're grateful, you're appreciative, you like a lot about it. But you get that sense that it's not going to work out because you've invested time to change it. You're trying to change it. You keep having the same conversation, but nothing materially changes. Imagine having to make the decision to end it and all that entails. Not a good feeling. It also doesn't feel good to have the other person end the relationship. People could feel abandoned, rejected, dismissed, discarded, or just plain hurt. There might be some sadness, definitely some grief. They are losing a relationship. How do you make those hard decisions? Have those hard conversations in an effective manner to minimize the hurt to only the hurt that's necessary? It feels better when you approach it as colleagues or teammates and partners and decide together whether or not the behavior can be changed, whether the relationship can be saved. Both people have to be honest and open. They have to communicate about what behavior needs to change and whether that's even possible. After what period of time of wanting to change and actively working on it, do you come back and say, hey, it's not working, or it is working? Do you come back every week, every month, every 6 months? Imagine the person saying, well, I am working on it. Well, all right, is that a defensive comment? Are they really working on it? What are they actually doing? Instead, imagine saying, I'm aware that I do this. These are the 3 things that I've done to make change. I am changing, but I'm concerned that I am not making change fast enough for you. Do you have any suggestions for how I can address it better or faster? They might be doing all the right things, and the behavior still doesn't shift. Imagine having several conversations about that, and deciding together that despite the best efforts, it's probably not going to change. Because of your respect for one another, you realize that it's better to part ways, even though it hurts to do so. Again, it doesn't feel good to be rejected. It hurts. If someone tells you that they don't want to continue the relationship, and you complain and tell them how much it hurts to hear that they don't want the relationship, well, okay, that's okay when it's your turn. But if you do it before it's your turn, imagine what that feels like. Again, you're making it about you. You're skipping in line. You're not taking your turn. You have feelings. Those feelings are legit. They're valid. But take your turn. It's a safe rule for both parties to consistently ask, what's my role in this? Am I taking accountability and standing up for what I want? Imagine this discussion. You never tell me what's wrong. Yep. Why don't you? Well, because this happens every single time. So on the one hand, you want to know. On the other hand, when I tell you, you repeat the same exact behavior. So if I tell you, it's worse for me and for us, I'm better off not telling you and just sucking it up. Ugh. What is my role if that keeps happening? What options do I have? What's in my control? Let's slow things down by taking turns being understood. Take turns. Listen to understand, not to reply, not to respond, not to convert, persuade, or talk the person out of their feelings. For example, the person says, ooh, that hurt. Listening is the best possible response. Not problem solving, not devil's advocate. Even just saying something as simple as, I get how that could hurt. So again, what's my role in this? Do I need to change my approach or just accept it? Do I need to walk away for now or for good? Gottman talks extensively about turn towards, turn away, turn against when you're being the listener. So imagine that somebody says, "Oof, that hurts." Turning towards the person saying they hurt demonstrates that their hurt is important to you. So I'll say that again. Turning towards the person that said that they were hurt, that demonstrates that their hurt is important to you as a listener. Again, you're not playing devil's advocate. You're not fixing them. You're not making it about your needs right now. You're listening. You're prioritizing their needs. You're sacrificing for them. You're putting their needs ahead of yours right now because it's their turn. Your needs are important too, more so when it's your turn. Turning away. That means dismissing the talker's feelings without acknowledging the feelings. It might even mean ignoring them. Turning against is contrarian, debating, telling them why what they feel and think is wrong, and validating them, rather than sticking with your role of listening. If you engage in turning toward at least 86% of the time, you have a good chance of staying together. If you drop below that 86% number, according to Gottman, statistically, you're more likely to break up. Imagine wanting to emotionally connect with someone and say, "Hey, this thing was tough for me." The response to that determines the next hour or so. Imagine if you repeatedly ask him to talk, to open up, to be vulnerable and emotionally connected, and it seems like you should listen and not complain about him doing exactly what you asked him to do. Maybe part of you honestly, truly doesn't like when he expresses vulnerability. Some people don't hear this as being a strong man, or it doesn't land well for you, or it triggers you. You don't like it. Another part of you, a deeper part of you, knows that it's healthy and builds relationships, and you asked for it. You deliberately asked them to do exactly that thing that you're now complaining about. You tell yourself that you should want it, like you should want to eat healthy or exercise. You recognize the ambivalence within yourself. What I hear in my office sometimes is, "You have no right to feel that way. You have no right to complain about me. I don't like hearing that I did something wrong or something that hurt you." I want to counter that with, "You hurt me too, so it doesn't count when I hurt you. I want to tell you that it wasn't my intention. Or I'm sorry you feel that way," as if that's an actual apology. Or maybe I think that erases the behavior or harm if it wasn't my intention. I want to talk you out of your pain because it's hard for me to see you hurting. It's hard to acknowledge and recognize that I can hurt you inadvertently. I don't see myself as a bad person, a perpetrator, or someone who hurts people. So when you tell me that my behavior hurt you, I desperately want to talk you out of it instead of feeling my feelings. Gosh, imagine if somebody were that articulate in the moment. The insight's very helpful. So again, what's my role in the discord? Am I being aggressive? Am I acknowledging my own room for improvement? What am I doing that contributes to the dysfunction? Ask that first before walking away from a relationship, before insisting that they change. If it bothers you, speak your mind after you took your own inventory and chose your battles. So imagine a relationship report card. You want to know how you did on the one hand. On the other hand, you're on pins and needles about being evaluated. You feel judged or criticized even though you recognize that evaluating a relationship is important. Both people are evaluating and evaluated it. Honestly, both of you are asking, is it worth continuing the relationship? Is it healthy enough to get to the next level? Is the good of this relationship enough to tolerate the distress of it? All relationships have stress. Is it worth the trade-off to each of us, to both of us? It's okay to focus on what you need here. Again, what can I do differently on my side of the equation? And ask yourself, can it work? What would it take for it to work? Am I willing to do that amount of work in this particular relationship? Is the other person willing and able to make the changes to remove a red flag, a deal breaker? If not, as painful as it might be, I need to break the deal. Maybe I need to stop over-accommodating. No moving the goalposts, no self-sabotage, no selling myself out. No compromise on what are my deepest values. No second guessing or gaslighting myself. Did the relationship run its natural course, and now I'm forcing it to work? That's how I know I've grown. We legit tried, and no matter what, it wasn't going to work. Don't delay the inevitable. Part of me wants you to overlook my failures, flaws, eccentricities, and not acknowledge or point them out. I wish I were perfect. I wish I didn't have them. I wish you weren't affected by them. In the end, I reject myself. I'm going to blame you, but I recognize my role for the fact that I didn't grow as fast as you needed. I know I need more work on certain of my quirks. I know there's always room for improvement, but I say I'm walking on eggshells to get you to back off. Instead, I should probably lean into it. I can say that I'm both working on the quirks and learning to accept them instead of choosing defensiveness. That behavior only drives people away. I can say that I want to know what's going wrong in the relationship and that I'll likely feel defensive about hearing it. I'm human and trying my best, knowing that I'm not perfect. I can approach it with humility, gentleness, and ask for the same from you. Or when I ask for it, you tell me, I can make it worse. Always start with asking, what's my role in this? No blame, no guesswork, please. All positives, no complaints, that's not realistic. So imagine I tried to stay all positive, and then when this came up, I now tell you all the things that are wrong. I knew you didn't like me telling you that, and I didn't clear the air at the time that it happened. Hey, those are the things that I complained about. I get that I'm not perfect. That doesn't take away from what's happening. What you're doing is deflecting because you feel defensive and you think I'm attacking you. So do we forgive? I can forgive without you changing. That doesn't mean that I stay around. I don't want to keep getting hurt. Your changed behavior is what demonstrates that you want it to work. Your attempt to stop hurting me helps me determine if it's worth it to stay. You might apologize and do nothing differently. Maybe you're not legitimately trying to change. Well, then you've made the choice to end the relationship. You broke us up. I'm just confirming that it's over. I put up with a lot. So did you. I'm willing to overlook certain things if you're trying, if I see changes, if there's hope. Sometimes things don't change. That doesn't mean I dislike you. I actually do like you. It's just not enough to save the relationship. Threshold's pretty high. Threshold is higher than whether or not you're a good person. Yep, it's not all bad, or mostly bad. It's not all or nothing. It's whether or not the relationship serves me. Does it inspire me to develop into my best self? Do I see us growing together? Is there a future? Not whether or not you're good or worthy. There are many good and worthy humans that we wouldn't stay in a relationship with. One size doesn't fit all. So I acknowledge that we both tried. Maybe not as much as the other wanted. Or maybe the trying was less obvious or less successful, and yet something was off. I think we both knew it. Maybe we did. Maybe one of us was less affected by the part that was objectionable. Maybe we should have checked in earlier in the relationship, instead of overlooking or avoiding the problem. That might have made a difference, or might have shortened the relationship. Maybe checking in weekly with what's going well and not going well. Maybe that's a good idea. If I do something that bothers you, please tell me. I might not take it well right away, but I'd rather know. I promise to work on taking my own inventory and keeping myself accountable. If you listen to this and you might be feeling defensive, it might be the case that you do some of this in your relationship. You might have reasons or justifications, or maybe you're rationalizing, or maybe you're thinking about defending your position instead of hearing that both people contribute to the problem. You both do, so no one is 100% innocent or 100% guilty. And we all contribute to our own problems. What's in your control to fix and change? Do that first. If it doesn't improve and you ask your partner to address what bothers you, you've given them time to change, consider that this particular relationship might not improve. If it doesn't improve, if neither changes any more in the relationship, Is it worth staying in it? Doesn't mean that you hate the person. Doesn't mean that you have to be mean. If the purpose of a relationship is to help each other grow and develop, feel loved and supported, to hold accountable, and to encourage the best self to emerge, are we doing that? Not every relationship is designed to last a lifetime. They may be a wonderful human being, but not the right human being for you for now. That's both okay and painful. Can you let go of things that no longer serve you? Let's work on letting go, and part of that is realizing what is in need of improvement. It's easier to focus on how you were wronged than how you can improve. That gives you something concrete to work on and grow. The final chapter. Have you identified where your room for growth and improvement is in this?